And then all of a sudden it switches back to retrograde. You're going from that 30 back to 0. What happened from 0 to 30? And what do you need to reestablish in your life? What do you need to look at and go, okay, I get a second chance to do this part over, or I get a second chance to learn my lesson from this part of your life? Yeah, I think it's not as bad as everybody makes it out to be. Are there inconveniences with retrogrades? Yes. But are there inconveniences with them not being retrograde as well? Yeah, there are.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like everyday life.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there are influences, though. But you have to be able to work with those influences. The whole point of, in my opinion, being a witch or being a spiritual person is being able to follow those natural cycles and attuning your body and mind and spirit to them so that you exist in harmony with them. And that includes retrogrades.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
I don't know anything about astrology.
You know you're an Aquarius.
Ooh.
That's astrology?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Now you just got to figure out your moon and your rising.
Nah.
And that just sparked something in my head that I wanted to mention. I forgot. So people are always very skeptical of psychics and all this other stuff and mediums, whatever. But in Salem, Massachusetts, isn't it true that you have to get licensed and you have to kind of go through a process? They do not allow just anyone to do it.
No, it's definitely a process. There's a background check. There's a licensing board hearing that is run by the city, and each store is only allotted a certain amount of licensing. And those stores also probably will check your references and require you to do multiple readings before they'll even consider to put you on the board, because it costs the store money to license somebody.
Yeah.
And it's a quarterly license. I'm sorry, not quarterly. I apologize. It's a triannual license.
Oh, wow.
And you can't get a replacement one. So if you hire that person, they have to be a really good psychic, and you know that they're going to last, because you can't get another one in with a license. You're only allotted a certain number every 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know of a lot of bad psychics in Salem. I will say that. I really don't. There's not the people that are going to not connect with everybody. Absolutely. I am a very good psychic. I've been doing it for many years. I read at the Tremont Tea Room, the oldest psychic studio in Boston. I've traveled around the country. I've done a lot of different things, right?
Amelia's all fangirling over here.
I love the Tremont Tea Room.
Really?
I haven't been since it changed ownership.
Right.
But
I was there when Alex was there. Alex is actually the gentleman who taught me palmistry.
And he's a delight.
He was a very good man. Very, very good man.
Yes.
And it's a shame to have lost him.
Absolutely.
Not that I'm going to share some super dark secrets or weird secrets, but he used to work for the sheriff's department, finding bodies and finding people. And I used to be his go fetch downstairs. I would run downstairs, and this blacked out windowed truck would drive up, and they'd hand me a folder, and I'd run upstairs, and we would sit there, and he would do the first reading and take his own notes and then put them away, and then I would do the second reading on the information and write down the notes. And between the two of us, we would compare notes, and then we'd give it back to the marshals or to the sheriff's department. I will tell you, he was an amazing man. Absolutely amazing man, and I love him very, very much so, and it's a shame to see him gone.
No, yeah, he was totally unbelievable.
He was also really aggressive, too. He once made a joke. He once made a joke to me. I think it was probably my 3rd or 4th year there. He goes, "Tim, you have to be mean to them sometimes, because you know what? They don't get the message unless you're aggressive." And I'm not. I was known as the hugging psychic. That actually was my title when I was at the tea room, because every client I just hugged. And I already told you, I'm not super emotional, outwardly. But I feel like I need to hug everybody, right? So I used to be the hugger. He told me, you got to stop doing that. You need to be more aggressive. They're not going to hear your message until you tell them bluntly. And now I'm known as a very blunt psychic. I am the person that says, no, you're not going to get married, or no, you're not going to. I have to be forward with it and not try to sugarcoat anymore. And he's the one who taught me that. And I didn't really get a clientele and become really well known until I started being more aggressive. And he changed my viewpoint on reading.
I think that's very interesting. I also think that's part of being an ethical psychic, is you just have to let people know. Absolutely. And that's just part of the game. But he was so funny. Oh my gosh. I was sitting in one of the last times I went, I was sitting in the waiting room, and he was in the room across from me. And all of a sudden you just hear him, and he's like, "Listen, if your house was on fire, what would you do?" And the girl's like, and he's like, go read with someone else.
Exactly.
He just kicked her right out.
You know, it's really funny. I used to take all of his kickbacks. Like, anytime he'd kick somebody out of his office, which I loved Alex, but it was regularly.
Yeah.
It was very regularly. He would come in and he would only do 6 appointments a day. And all of his appointments were half an hour. He didn't do 15-minute appointments or anything like that. And he would do 6 appointments a day, and probably by the end of the day, he only did 3 or 4. And the rest of them were schlepped off to myself or another psychic in there. And he kept saying, "You're the only one that I will let read the ones that I don't want to or cannot read anymore." And I was like, okay, whatever you say, buddy. And then there's Raymond, who's, I don't even know if he's still there. Raymond has been reading there for 42 years, maybe.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a very long time.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Do you
I
have
want to
any
ask about your necklace.
Yeah. What would you like to know?
Can you tell me about it? It's a 5-pointed star with a little triangle over the top point, and then is that a ram's head next to it?
This is a bull's head.
A bull's head.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is a bull with a labrys, which is a double-sided axe, and it comes from the temple of Minos in Crete, Knossos Palace,
Okay.
which is a place where the
Theseus met the Minotaur.
Yes. And Ariadne gave the ball of thread, and yep. And
I love mythology.
I do too, and a lot of those myths are used within witchcraft. And are very significant within certain branches and forms of witchcraft. One being known as the Minoan Brotherhood, which is a tradition that is not so different than Gardenarian, but is specifically for gay men. And they use the symbols of Crete and of the temple of Minos and Knossos. And the other one is a sigil of the high priest or high priestess, and it is a pentagram with a triangle on top. And it is a symbol of attainment of the 3rd degree. I wear a very small one because I think it's somewhat ostentatious to wear it, and the one that I'm wearing is actually one that I had made for me. Because the only ones you can buy from jewelry manufacturers are like 4 inches big, and I'm like, that's just screaming, look at me, I'm trying to be somebody. So I wear and I usually I don't even have people see it. It's not that I'm ashamed of, but I'm not an ostentatious person. I'm very laid back, you know.
Did you know what it meant?
No.
So, I mean, it's the type of thing that I think you'd only have to be in the know to know it.
Yeah.
But I was kind of looking at it. I'm like, I bet that has some significance to it. So.
Yep. So there's 8 sides to it, which represent the 8 holidays.
Okay.
And then there are 13 points. 13 sides and 8 points.
Okay.
Strike that, reverse it.
Cool.
So it represents the 8 Sabbats and the 13 Esbits, and it has other meanings behind it as well, but it is the symbol of earth, air, fire, and water, surmounted by spirit, which is the top point.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah. Very cool.
And it's very good looking, too.
Oh, thank you.
Definitely not ostentatious.
Thank you. It's in the witch community, if I was to walk down the street, I wear it every day of my life. It's very meaningful to me, but I try not to be. Humility is the first lesson of witchcraft. As a 1st degree, as an initiate into the priesthood, the very first lesson that you're taught is humility. And a lot of people in the witchcraft community, when they get to 2nd or 3rd degree or however many degrees, they forget that first lesson. And I am all about trying to maintain that first lesson. So I'm never one of those people that goes into a community and says, I'm a reverend, I'm recognized in the state of Massachusetts as a reverend. I don't do that sort of thing just because... What's my story compared to your story? I'm sure your story is just as valid and meaningful, and I don't need to, throw anything in anybody's face. So I try to tamper it down a little bit.
That's interesting. As a high priest, do you marry people?
I do. Within my coven, I will perform weddings, which we call hand fastings. I have a lot of people that reach out to me to do hand fastings or ceremonies for marriage, and I have done public ones, maybe 5 or 6 in my life. It's not something that I would say I am super thrilled to do unless I have a really close connection to the person. Somebody who's been coming to me for a reading for a really long time, or something along those lines. It's not my lot in life to perform those types of things. I've also done seinings, which is our form of a baby baptismal ritual. But again, it's not my thing. My high priestess, on the other hand, she is all about community outreach, and I'm not. I think that, in my opinion, witchcraft is not about the environment or the community around you. It's about your coven. It's about your small group of people, and I don't go outside of that, really.
Which is interesting because it's a little bit at odds with what I find about a lot of Christianity, which is always about building the flock. It's about more trying to bring more people in.
Yep. We are not about proselytizing at all.
Okay.
We are never trying to get people to convert. We believe that the secrets and mysteries of witchcraft are something that you are innately drawn to. And if you truly desire it, you will seek out somebody and you will find somebody. We never promote anything like that. Now, I say that, and I have to say I do run public rituals that are not hand fastings. They're not rites of passage. They are holiday festivals, because there are a lot of people out there that are not connected to covens, that are not connected to a community, that want to be involved in the seasonal festivals. And we run those at Omen at the 8 holidays at Omen in Salem. And we have huge turnouts, and they're wonderful. And we collect food for Salem Saves Animals. We collect money donations and that sort of thing for Salem Saves Animals and the Salem Food Pantry. So it is an outreach thing, but I'm not, and I do facilitate it and I do all of that, but it's not my lot in life to be the priest that performs weddings and that sort of thing. And there are many people out there that are really into that. It's just not for me. But the public rituals, I think, is an introduction to traditional witchcraft for people to understand. And even if you're not a witch and you just have family members that are witches, maybe you want to come and see what we do and get rid of that idea of that we're doing something oogie boogie.
Yes. Those two, I can understand those two things being very different, having the public rituals and then having what you do within your coven. One thing I heard recently on a podcast I was listening to is they were saying, and it's hosted by a witch, Eliza Kelly, Stars Like Us. One thing she said on there is like, magic should kind of be done privately. It's not something you really want to share. Like, and I don't totally understand spell work or how that goes, but that's one of the things she says. Like, you don't tell people your spells. You don't.
Absolutely.
You don't Instagram that.
Absolutely. If you go on my Instagram, my Facebook, my Twitter, which I barely use any of them, but if you were to go, you would never find anything about spell work or about my coven or about anything like that. There is a saying within magic, not even just in witchcraft, but in magic in general. In order for magic or a spell to work, there needs to be to know, to will, to dare, and to keep silent. The best way I can explain this is, have you ever heard of the Malokia?
No.
Okay.
Possibly, but just not by that name.
The Malokia is the evil eye. Okay?
I have heard of that.
Okay, so the evil eye is not something that somebody usually intentionally goes, I'm going to curse you with the evil eye. And has there been instances of that? I'm sure, historically. The evil eye is jealousy. Okay? If you are, what's the one thing that, I'm gonna quote a Morrissey or a Smith song for a minute. You always hate your friends for doing better than you. And whether you believe it or not, it's true. Deep down inside, you get a promotion, somebody's gonna be jealous of your promotion, right?
Yes.
You don't want that with magic. If I'm doing a spell, I'm not gonna do a spell. Say I'm healing a cousin. My cousin's really sick and she has a bad case of pneumonia, and my coven works to heal her. I'm not gonna go and tell everybody that I know about my cousin being sick, because whether they know it or not, subconsciously, they're thinking about her and thinking about her illness. And whether they want to believe that they're doing something good or bad, they could be projecting bad energy. Also, it's the same thing like when somebody wants to buy a house. I will never tell anybody if I'm buying a house. If I'm buying a house, it's just going to be a very private thing, other than the interaction with the realtor and the broker and all of that, because your friends around you that are still living in apartments or not still living in apartments, there's nothing wrong with always living in an apartment, but the people that are in apartments, they could be getting this bad feeling like, oh, I wish I could do that. That's so, and have that jealousy that's projecting that negativity onto your endeavor. Why would you want people to know that?
That's
you know
true.
what I mean?
That's very true.
I had never considered that, and sorry, I'm never going to tell you about anything fun that I'm doing ever again until after it's already done.
I'm always happy for you when you do fun things.
But according to Tim, you may say that you're happy, but there could be...
I would say there are other people in the family you should not tell.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you just have to be careful, because a coven is like a family in some sense. I mean, we are all adults that get together and have similarities, but you have to trust your coven. There has to be a sense of trust and love there, right? And you obviously are working magic together, so you have to be able to trust them. So you can have close confidants that you say, oh, I'm buying this house. I'm not saying that you have to keep everything hush-hush, but the less you're verbalizing your desires to the world, the better the results, I think, are going to be. Have you read The Secret?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, over and over again,
Right.
a million times.
So like when
Can you give me the Cliff Notes version?
Yeah, it's all about manifesting, and what you put out, you bring back in.
Perfect.
To the world, yeah.
It's like the Hermetic principles, right? So like attracts like, and it's literally Oprah's witchcraft. I mean, if you really think about it, I tell people about this all the time. Oprah made it one of her favorite books, and it really is witchcraft made for people that don't know anything about magic or witchcraft and they just want to project for positive things in their life. You don't create your board and hang it in your closet and then go and show everybody your board in your closet of what you want to achieve in your life. You have these boards that you put pictures and words and affirmations on, and you hang it in a room so that every time you open that door, you see it and go, let me concentrate on this for a moment. Let me focus on this. You don't go out and hang it in your living room above your fireplace and let everybody see it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
I keep mine.